One of my favorite stocks just dropped 25% in one day. Maxr Technologies buy or sell after this correction. Maxr dropped nearly 25% after reporting their Q3 2020 earnings, and in this video I'm explaining why I think Wall Street overreacted, where I think this stock price will stop dropping, and also somewhere where I may have gone wrong in my previous analysis, sort of. Let's do it. What's going on, everybody? My name is Matthew. Welcome back to my channel, and today we are talking all things Maxr Technologies, ticker symbol MAXR. I've covered this stock probably at least 10 times now on my channel, but I've never actually made a video specifically for Maxr, so this is really exciting. This video is actually going to be so quick, we don't even need a format. We're just going to cover earnings, why I think Wall Street overreacted, go over a little bit of technical analysis. I'm still a novice, still learning, but I'll share it anyways, and also a revision of my previous analysis that I think everyone should be aware of, so make sure you stick around till the end. And literally in one sentence, for those of you who don't know, Maxr Technologies is a play on space, they manufacture satellites, carry out government contracts, and provide Earth intelligence, which is just super detailed pics of the Earth from space taken several times a day. Maxr reported net income in Q3, but they missed on revenue by 18.19 million, which is one of a few things Wall Street did not like about this report. They reported consolidated revenues of 436 million, which was obviously a miss, so it gets an X. But it's actually relatively steady in terms of revenue compared to past quarters, maybe down just a little bit. Personally, I'm okay with that because I don't expect much growth from Maxr quite yet, so I gave it a check too. They closed the acquisition of Vricon, which is great and expected. They reported net income of 85 million, which sounds good, but they reported an $85 million gain on remeasurement of previously held equity interest in Vricon, which I do not really like, and that's why it does not get a check. So I just said a bunch of random big finance words, but here's what it means. Remeasurement is the re-evaluation of the value of a physical asset, in this case Vricon, on a company's financial statements. In other words, they didn't actually make 85 million in net income from business operations. Someone just decided to remeasure their value of Vricon assets and increased it by 85 million and counted that as income. Without this remeasurement, I think net income would have either been flat or slightly negative, and I believe Wall Street saw right through this. But more on this accounting magic later. Another thing Wall Street probably didn't like is that the Earth Intelligence segment saw revenues decline by 3%, as we mentioned before, but space infrastructure grew by 12%, so little bright spot there. Again, not too worried about Earth revenues staying kind of flat or dropping just a little bit. I would be more worried if they had fully integrated Vricon already into their business and they were still flat. And the nail in the coffin, they lowered their guidance for Earth Intelligence revenue to be roughly flat compared to previous expectations of growth that would be flat to low single digits. And space infrastructure revenue is forecast to be flat versus previous guidance of mid-single digit growth. Wall Street is certainly not a fan of weak guidance. They're definitely not a fan of lowered guidance compared to previous expectations. But who actually expects Maxr to have any significant growth while they're trying to mend and heal their balance sheet? I, for one, am unbothered. Yes, we might not see any significant growth in Maxr in the near term, but overall the company is getting healthier and becoming more valuable in that way. And honestly, whenever I'm in doubt, I like to refer back to their plan. Right now, we are in the stabilization stage. Maxr is selling business units like MD&A to get cash to pay off debts and also reduce reliance on hardware revenue. And they're acquiring new business units like Vricon to increase recurring software revenue. We are in stabilization mode, not growth mode quite yet. Be patient. Notice how it says finishing right here. We're still finishing up. And once we stabilize, then we can take off. So I definitely think Wall Street's overreacting because I do understand they wanted growth, they expected growth, and they did not get it. But let's be real here for a second. Is it really worth dropping 25% when you expected single-digit growth and it turned out to be flat? I mean, I could understand a drop like that if we were expecting like 10 to 20% growth and then that was turned into flat expectations. But personally, I can't really rationalize such a huge drop in market cap due to growth slowing by a couple double digits. And on top of that, if you look at their operating cash flows, they're clearly making improvements, especially over these last 3 quarters, going from negative 15 million to 96 million this past quarter. So as far as where I think this stock should land on its feet, I could definitely see this stock finding some support at around 2080 or 2075, right around where my cursor is right now. And the reason being is because if you see this gap right here, oftentimes the bottom of the gap and the top of the gap can serve as resistance or support. And in this case, I'm hoping that the bottom of the gap can serve as support for this falling Maxr stock price. Also, if you look at the RSI, you can see that it is approaching oversold territory. It's past 40, it's approaching 30. And I think if we get to 2075, 2080, it should be right around oversold, which would be another reason why it could be a good place to enter or find support. Now, before I add, or if I want to add, what I'm going to do is wait for confirmation. I want to make sure I see a green candle for at least a day bouncing off of this 2080 area. Now, if it breaks right through this 2080 area, then I'm going to have to reassess what kind of supports I see coming up for this stock. I might have to be a lot more patient. We could see it drop all the way down to this area right here. So don't get too eager. Remember, this is a long-term game, but yeah, I'm guessing 2080, 2075. Now, there's one last thing I need to talk to you guys about today, and that is how we can value Maxr stock, because it has changed. At least in my opinion. In the past, I often looked to their PE ratio, which right now is about 4.86, and obviously this makes Maxr look extremely attractive, and this is actually something I would frequently refer to in my videos as a reason to potentially buy the stock. But I was actually talking about Maxr with Daniel Pronk the other day, and check this out. Gain on disposal of discontinued operations, 304 million in income on the income statement. That brings net income from literally just 2 million to 306 million. What the heck is gain on disposal of discontinued operations? Basically, Maxr sold some of their assets and realized a $304 million gain that they then reported as income. And there's nothing wrong with this. It was just my fault for misinterpreting. So this is 100% on me. See, this made net income abnormally large for Q2 of 2020. Notice how that 306 million sticks out like a sore thumb amongst the rest of the net incomes reported for other previous quarters. That's because Maxr doesn't just sell parts of its business every quarter, so it's not always going to see these gains. And again, that $85 million is from the remeasurement of the value of their Vricon assets. It's not actually net income from operations. The point I'm trying to make here is that I think the PE ratio is deceptively low and deceptively attractive right now because their earnings from the last 12 months are kind of inflated due to the sale of assets and things like remeasurement of the value of other assets. And so since the net income of Maxr right now is not stable, reliable, or predictable because they're making all these deals and changing things around on their balance sheet, I am gonna actually not use the PE ratio to try and value this company for a little bit. Instead, we're going to use the trusty price to sales ratio, or PS ratio. With a $1.3 billion market cap and $1.6 billion in revenues in the last 12 months, Maxr has a price to sales ratio of 0.82, and the lower the better the value on this one. Comparing it to other satellite manufacturers, it's certainly at a discount, and I know that big guys like Raytheon and Lockheed Martin aren't the best comparisons, but I had to work with what I got. Now, this discount on the price to sales ratio isn't quite as attractive as the discount we saw in the PE ratio, because that was huge. But this is something I had to bring to everyone's attention. I apologize, it was an oversight on my part, and perhaps also a great reminder that everyone should always be doing their independent due diligence. So does this change my view on Maxr? Well, to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of the fact that net income is actually pretty much flat or slightly negative, but at the same time, we are in that stabilization stage that I talked about earlier, and I'm really looking forward to the growth. And Maxr is doing everything they can to pay down their debts right now, which I think is the right move. So no, it doesn't change my opinion. I'm still very much long on Maxr Technologies. Am I selling? Heck no. But this does definitely push Maxr a little bit further into the spec kind of area for me. And lastly, am I going to be buying any next week? Honestly, I don't quite know yet. Again, I'm looking for that support and confirmation that it is a support there at the 2080, 2075 range. Perhaps I might scoop up a few shares. I'm still not 100% certain. I do have a pretty decent sized position right now. Of course, top tier patrons are always alerted of every trade that I make, as well as they get access to all of the Discord channels. So if you're interested in that, check out the link below, first one in the description. I hope this video helps to clear up any questions or concerns you may have regarding Maxr. If not, let me know any other questions you have in the comments below, and let me know what you thought of their previous quarter and what you guys are doing with your positions right now. If you found any value in this video, and I hope you did, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and check out our quote of the day. You might just learn something. Make sure to follow me on Instagram for daily posts about my portfolio, stocks I'm watching, and all that good stuff. And if you're watching to this point in the video, you are the real MVPs. Don't forget your peace and thank yous.